Yes. Hello. Hello, Jen.
Hello.
Hi. So could you tell us a bit about yourself and mySociety and EveryPolitician briefly?
Okay, so my name is Jen Bramley, and I am a partnerships and project manager at mySociety. My current focus is working with the Parliament's team, which focuses on kind of political data and parliamentary monitoring sites and kind of things to do with elections and stuff like that. mySociety is a UK NGO which also works internationally. We started a long time ago now, about 12, 13 years ago in the UK, and about 7 or 8 years ago we started working internationally. All of our code is open source, and we build websites that help people connect with their politicians in some way, shape or form. So what I'm going to be talking about at the event is EveryPolitician, which is which is basically the concept is we built so many sites that people want to replicate, and they all kind of use some form of political data, and we watch people copy them but get bogged down in actually trying to do the gathering of the data about politicians, because if you want to make a parliamentary monitoring site, the first thing you need is obviously a list of politicians. But the majority of people have an idea about what they want to do to add value to that, whether that's exposing the voting information of those politicians, or showing kind of what they're doing in their local communities, or whatever it is that they want to use to add value. And they can't do that because they spend however long it is getting the data from a source, clearing it up, putting it into a kind of a format that they can use easily, and then exposing it. And by that point, they've usually lost the will to actually kind of do the value-adding part of it. And we did this too when we started looking at voting records about 1.5 years ago. We realized that we wanted to do kind of a global site that would look at politicians' voting records, and we realized that there was no simple place where we could find information about every single politician in the world. So, you know, that's a kind of the reason why we created this is because we realized that to do the things that we really want to do, like expose the voting records of all politicians in the world, we need the data on who is who first. So the idea behind EveryPolitician is that we will capture all of the data for every single politician in all of the world, for every kind of national level legislature, and we will make it easy to reuse. We provide it in JSON format and CSV format. We scrape it from different websites, or it's provided to us by people who are kind of contributing. And then it's so much easier to make those sites that you want to make that actually add value to the data. So yeah, that's kind of the reason that we created EveryPolitician.
So it's like a global repository for all the politicians that you can possibly find in the world, right?
Yes, I mean, we're not completely 100%, I don't think. So
or something.
Yeah, like Egypt, we still don't have something for it, or we might have now, but there are a couple of countries where, like Libya, for example, it's still in flux. There's no actual parliament there, so we haven't got information about that.
So obviously you got like information from a lot of countries, but how do you get folks from all the countries to help on this project?
Yeah, so when we actually started out, we didn't get a lot of people's help. We actually thought that we would do quite a lot of it ourselves. And this isn't to say that we don't want people helping us, we really do. But we thought the best way to show people how they could help was to actually do some of it ourselves. And then what we did was we kind of switched to asking people, rather than, okay, come and like write scrapers for us and scrape this website for us, which they then would have to keep up to date. What we said was, can you point us towards where the data is? You know, getting them involved in kind of, okay, if you're already maintaining this data, can you just point us at the place where you're maintaining it? And then we will scrape the site and put it on EveryPolitician so that other people can use it. So that people don't have to worry about, you know, oh God, I need to keep maintaining the scraper that isn't actually doing anything for me. All they have to think about is, I want to maintain the data that I'm already using in my site, or whatever, like the government, for example, we can scrape government websites. They're not going to care about us in terms of like giving us a scraper for the data or scraping the data for us and putting it into EveryPolitician. But if we scrape that data, then put it into EveryPolitician, then loads of other people can use it. So that was kind of our shift from asking people to do it themselves to just asking them to show us where we could find this data. And we did Glow Week in 2015, which is organised by the NDI, and we went over there to Georgia where they were holding an event. And we got people there to help us make EveryPolitician reach 200 countries, and I think we were on something like 150 at the time. We got to 200 by the end of the week. We were doing about 8 countries per day. It was really, really, really good. And people were both sending us where the data sources were, and about 10 to 20 people were also contributing scrapers and things like that. And there was loads and loads of buzz around the platform that was created in that event, and I think that was probably where we started to realize just how useful this could be to other people. Kind of where groups have sort of published data and processed data, we'll kind of go back and look at those people that we kind of worked with in that week and kind of capture the data from them whenever they update it as well.
Right, so then you don't have to because after like new elections, then you have new elected officials, then you need to update the data. So the way you do it is basically you look at other people's maintained database already and then just pull in from there, right?
Yeah, so we have scrapers that are running quite a lot of the time. I don't know whether it's every night, I'd have to check, but we have them running really, really regularly. And they do automatic checks of whether there are any changes on the ones that we're the sites that we're looking at. If people are updating the data sources, then it will get automatically pulled in. Some groups have published or processed the data, and then we can just go back to them, update that. Pong in South Korea is a really good example of that. They were publishing it as a JSON already, so we just literally go pull in that data. It updates automatically on EveryPolitician, and that's really good. So yeah, our scrapers basically update whenever a site updates. Sometimes we ping people if we notice that they haven't kept the site up to date. We did this recently with a Portuguese group, just asking them whether they were still working on it. And usually the response will be something like, yes, we are, absolutely. Didn't realize we hadn't updated it for a while. Going to update it now, that kind of thing. So it's kind of really useful in that we find people that are really interested in just kind of the raw data as it is and keeping that up to date.
Right. So yeah, I guess we need to check if Taiwan's up to date because we just had an election in January.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So now the data's there, and so are there featured applications that build using this data from EveryPolitician?
Yeah. So this is one of the big things that I want to talk about at the event. We have a few examples at the moment. So the biggest one that people might know about is gender balance, where we asked people to help us crowdsource data about the gender of every politician in every parliament in the world, or as many as that we had on EveryPolitician. So that was pulling the data that we had out of EveryPolitician and putting it into a site which you could basically, it was like a little game. You got a person's profile brought up with a picture that we pulled in, I think, from Wikipedia, and you could click and say which gender you knew they were if you knew it, or you could say you didn't know what gender they were, and kind of from that we've built up a really good database about gender of politicians around the world, which could be really useful to research people, just to kind of pull out, how good gender representation is in parliaments in the world. Another thing we have is something which we're calling Pombola Simple at the moment. So this is the idea of building really, really simple parliamentary monitoring sites. And And the best example of this at the moment is something called Kuvakazm, which is a parliamentary monitoring site in Zimbabwe, and that is completely running off EveryPolitician data at the moment. And we're also working on votes data. So we're going to look in the future about making a really simple plugin that takes the politician data from EveryPolitician and works out how to display votes. So it's a concept that I'm still kind of working my head around. Tony Bowden is kind of the driving force behind this, and he has a much better idea of how this is going to work. But we're working with two groups, one in Ireland and one in Georgia, to look at how this works. And funnily enough, Open Australia via Open North did a project in Ukraine, which was based on They Vote For You, which is Open Australia's voting kind of information application. And they supplied a lot of data to EveryPolitician so that they could use EveryPolitician to power They Vote For You in Ukraine, which was really, really interesting and really exciting for us.
That sounds really cool, and we should probably be able to recruit some people in the g0v community to build something on top of the EveryPolitician database and, well, make our stuff global, right?
Yes, that would be awesome. Yeah, I mean, there's loads of other stuff that we're hoping people will build. It's not just about us building stuff on top of it. What we're hoping is that every time we help people spin up a parliamentary monitoring site, or kind of help people set up something like a Right in Public site, for example, which is another great example of something that's been built on EveryPolitician data. We're hoping that people will add either new features or new things that can be like separate, really small, I hesitate to say the word components, but components that you can kind of take and use as you want and help you make sites better.
TK, do you want to go for the last question?
Hello, my name is TK. Did you see our agenda yet?
I did, yes.
So what session in the summit would be the most interesting to you?
So that's a really hard question to answer, actually, because there's a few sessions that I've already decided I really want to go to. There are two on data in disasters, which I think personally for me would be really, really interesting. And so those are ones I'm really, really looking forward to. And then there's one on morph by Henare from Open Australia, which I'm also interested to go to, although I know it conflicts with another one, which I think is on getting non-technical people involved in technical projects, which is something that's a bit of kind of my area. So that's something I'm also really interested in, so I'm going to have to figure out how I do that.
Okay, thank you. We'll try to include as many as people here to the summit.
Thank you.
All right.
That's it.
Cool.
We good? Oh yeah, there's one more thing.
Cool.
So I guess you mentioned you want to lead an unconference session about how to scale NGOs internationally.
Yeah.
Give us a brief introduction about like what you plan to talk about.
So I think this will be kind of more of a workshop, and more of kind of the idea is getting people to talk about what they think might work. It can be really difficult to scale something internationally. I think you really need to have a focus on what you're offering, and also knowing where the problems are and really getting to understand. So for example, it could be easier to focus on a specific region first. I'm going to let people sort of decide how they want to talk about this, but focusing on a region and really understanding the problems in that region and how you can help local people solve them, I think is the best way to scale internationally, because if you're providing support to local organizations that are already working there who have a really good understanding of the population, I think building those kind of partnerships and then having them introduce you to other people in the region who have similar issues is kind of a nice, natural, and also very kind of holistic way to scale.
Excellent. So I think a lot of people will be looking forward to join the workshop and the conference.
Cool.
All right. So yeah, I guess that's it for now.
Awesome. It was good to speak to you guys.
All right. Let me just stop it.